Yesterday evening, as the stars gathered above the quiet peaks, I listened to a traveling merchant of perhaps 30 years of age speak of 5 treasures of the mind that must never be shared with anyone. And his words settled deeply into my heart. This traveler, a man of immense wealth and influence from the vibrant lowland markets, possesses a depth of reflection rarely found among those who chase the coins of the world. I have never broken bread with him, but I bow to the clarity of his spirit. He spoke of matters I can attest to with every breath of my long life, and in his 5 truths, I recognized the very lessons my venerable master taught me in our high mountain sanctuary 40 years ago. I have walked this earth for 90 years, and for 30 of those I resided in a secluded monastery where the clouds touch the earth. Today I will take the merchant's insights as a path and walk it with you, showing you the same landscape, but from the vantage point of an old man who has gazed past the horizon. This is not because my mind is sharper, but because I have wandered this realm for 35 years longer than he has, and from such a distance the mists clear, and certain truths emerge in sharp relief. Stay with me for a while. I will not merely echo what the traveler expressed so eloquently, but I will add the quiet echoes he has not yet lived long enough to hear. The merchant named 5 things, which I shall briefly recall for those who have not heard his tale. First, the designs of your future. Second, your acts of benevolence. Third, the storms within your household. Fourth, your material wealth. And fifth, the silent journey of your inner spirit. All of this is true, and all of it shapes reality. Yet, I wish to pause at each of these 5 milestones and reveal what usually remains hidden in the shadows of such teachings. For knowing what to guard with silence is only half the journey. Understanding the profound reasons why is the true destination. Let us begin with the designs of your future. The young merchant speaks wisely of the immediate gratification the mind feels when praised. It is a modern understanding of the mind, and I respect its truth. For learned healers have found that speaking of your unfulfilled deeds brings a false sense of victory, draining the will to actually bring them into existence. But I shall add what the merchant could not say, for his realm is the marketplace, not the quiet halls of contemplation. The roots go far deeper than mere mental rewards. When you speak of a future endeavor, you release the vital energy of your intention before its time. It is exactly like lifting the heavy iron lid off a pot of boiling water. The steam escapes into the cold air, and the water grows still and tepid. You may place the lid back upon the pot, but the fierce heat is gone, and you must gather twice the wood and spend twice the time to awaken the boiling fire once more. My wise old master taught me this long ago, long before the modern scholars mapped the pathways of the mind. He would say to me that a seed cannot be watered while resting on the open palm of your hand, for a seed must be watered only while hidden in the dark, silent earth. As long as your intention remains buried within your quiet resolve, it gathers strength and grows. The moment you pull it from the soil to show the world, it begins to wither under the harsh sun. The light of human attention carries the scorching heat of their judgment, their silent doubts, and their hidden envy. And beneath such a blazing glare, a tender sprout rarely survives. Therefore, the merchant's wisdom is entirely correct. Keep your lips sealed regarding your plans until they have blossomed into undeniable reality. I will add only this: even when the fruit has ripened, it is best to speak of it with a gentle voice. It is far better to say that a modest endeavor bore fruit than to boast of building an empire and gathering 1,000,000 coins. This is the teaching of ancient mountain wisdom, and it is the plain common sense of those who have witnessed the turning of many seasons. Now, let us turn to the second matter, which is your acts of benevolence. The merchant spoke beautifully of the ancient desert traditions, stating that the left hand must remain blind to the charity of the right hand. This is echoed in the teachings of the forest ascetics, the mountain monks, and the wandering prophets of all the great lands. All the profound spiritual paths of this world have converged upon this single truth. Is this a mere coincidence? No. It is the fundamental law of the universe. Allow me to clear my throat and share a memory from my own long path. 30 years ago, in our quiet sanctuary, lived an old monk who had traveled from the southern valleys. He was a man of absolute stillness. We all knew he received a modest but steady allowance from the distant rulers of his homeland, yet every single month those coins vanished. Where they went, no soul knew. He ate the same simple grains as the rest of us, wore the same faded robes, and acquired nothing of comfort. Only when this quiet brother passed into the eternal sleep at the age of 86 did we discover the destination of his wealth. In his distant village lived a young relative born with great physical hardships. For 30 years, he had sent every single copper coin to ensure her comfort. He never spoke a word of it. Not to the master of our sanctuary, not to us, his brethren, not to anyone. 30 unbroken years. I pondered then, what would have changed had he spoken of his deeds to us? I realized that everything would have shattered. That silent sacrifice was his most profound prayer. Every unmarked envelope was a quiet communion between him and the heavens, a sacred dialogue meant only for the two of them. If even a single witness had stepped between them, that fragile connection would have snapped, and the noble sacrifice would have become nothing more than the exchange of metal and the counting of ledgers. Therefore, I implore you, when you bring light to another's darkness, remain silent. Do not do it merely to wear the mask of humility, but to preserve the purity of the dialogue between your spirit, the one you aid, and the silent watcher above. A third presence in this sacred exchange turns gold into dust. The third milestone is the storms within your household. The young traveler touched upon this briefly, but I must linger here, for this may be the most bleeding wound of our modern age. People today have entirely forgotten how to contain the fires of the hearth within the home. A woman clashes with her companion, and within the hour is sharing her grievances with 3 companions of her own. A man feels slighted by his spouse and summons his closest comrade to empty his heavy heart. A mother feels sorrow caused by her child and weeps to the strangers passing by her door. A child harbors anger toward an elder and broadcasts the grievance to a circle of peers. Each of them believes they are unburdening their spirit, seeking guidance, or simply finding comfort in a familiar voice. In truth, with every whispered complaint, they are striking an invisible blow against the deepest roots of their own family tree. Let me illuminate why this is so. Every individual to whom you recount a bitter dispute now harbors a permanently distorted vision of the event, holding only your side of the tale, without the balancing truth of your companion. In their mind, your beloved is no longer a complex soul, but a villainous character born from your fleeting anger. And when this confidant breaks bread with your companion 5 years from now, they will still gaze upon them through the dark lens of your old grievance. Even if you and your partner have long since found peace and cast the memory into the wind, your confidant has not. They preserve your anger far longer than you do. But the consequence grows darker still. Every complaint spoken aloud binds your own spirit. An unspoken grievance is heavy, but a spoken one weighs twice as much. Words released into the air become stone. They are decrees. You have drafted a heavy edict declaring that your companion is cruel or unyielding. When tomorrow brings the dawn and the desire to mend the rift, you will find it incredibly difficult, for you must first tear down the monument of your own spoken words, and denying one's own declarations is a bitter task. My old master often said that a home guarding its secrets is a fortress of stone, while a home that throws its doors open to the street will scatter in the first autumn wind. This does not mean you must endure darkness in silence within your walls. It means resolving the darkness within the bounds of those 4 walls, between 2 souls, without the eyes of the village upon you. If your union faces a tempest you cannot navigate, seek the counsel of a wise healer of the mind, a keeper of sacred texts, or an honorable elder chosen by both of you in mutual agreement. That is not betrayal. That is seeking the light together. But spilling every petty frustration into the ears of an idle companion over a cup of warm tea is the slow extinguishing of the union's light. The 4th pillar is material wealth. I have murmured of this before in other tales, noting that prosperity flourishes in absolute silence, so I shall not weary you with endless repetition. The merchant is correct down to the very last breath on this matter. I will only add the one truth he did not have the time to unveil. Wealth is not merely a private possession. Wealth is the singular force in any society that transmutes enduring brotherhood into silent resentment faster than any other earthly power. You may walk beside a dear companion for 40 years, sharing the sweet fruits of joy, the bitter herbs of sorrow, the victories of your labor, and the losses of your heart, remaining as close as 2 branches of the same tree. Yet, if you ever reveal to him, even in passing, the true weight of your purse, the depth of your hidden reserves, or the true value of your dwelling, Something deep within his spirit will shift, never to return. He will not suddenly become a wicked man. He will not betray you or seek to take what is yours, but a cold, hard number will implant itself in his mind, and that number will walk beside your name until the end of your days together. Every time he looks upon your face, he will see both his old friend and that glaring number at the exact same moment. Do not blame him, for this is simply the architecture of the mortal mind. I have witnessed this shadow fall within the monastery walls. I have seen it in the bustling market squares. I have watched it dissolve the bonds of my own kin. Numbers spoken aloud raise an invisible barrier of glass between souls, a wall that no amount of warmth can melt. Therefore, guard your ledgers with absolute silence. Never reveal exact measures, not the harvest of your labor, not the coins in your chests, not the value of your lands, even to your closest companions, sharing them with your spouse only with immense care, and guarding them most fiercely from your own blood relatives. And the fifth milestone is the silent journey of your inner spirit. Here the traveling merchant speaks a truth that desperately needs to be heard, for people today have lost all reverence for the sacred privacy of their inner awakening. Everywhere you turn, individuals proclaim their devotion. One boasts of their mental clarity, another speaks endlessly of their physical postures, another announces their mastery of stillness, and others paint images of their sacred retreats to prove their elevation. Half the world has appointed itself as a spiritual guide for the other half. I will speak to you with the firmness that my 90 years grant me. A spirit that has truly touched the divine never speaks of its elevation. For the moment words are wrapped around the sacred, it ceases to be grace and becomes a theater for the crowds. My master embedded this truth in me during my earliest days among the clouds. He told me that when I sit to find the quiet center of my mind, I must tell no one of my sitting. When I rise from that stillness, I must tell no one of what transpired. If you encounter a profound light within the cavern of your own being, it belongs to you alone. The moment you offer it to the crowd, it is no longer yours. It becomes an ordinary stone to be kicked about the public square. And the public square brings no peace to the troubled mind. The only peace comes from the private, agonizing, fiercely protected journey that you reveal to no one. For 40 years I have walked by this unbreakable rule. I speak to you often of the ancient mountain wisdom and the lessons I have absorbed. But hear me well. Never, not once, have I told you of the visions I witnessed in my deepest silence, the sudden understandings that pierced my heart, or the conclusions I reached when utterly alone with the universe. That realm is a sacred pact between myself and the Creator. A third presence is a trespasser. I urge you to embrace the same discipline. Offer your prayers, sit in profound stillness, visit the temples of your ancestors, absorb the scrolls of wise philosophers, and seek the ultimate truth. But wrap your journey in impenetrable silence. Share only the wisdom you have gathered from old parchments or the teachings of long-gone masters. Your personal revelation is yours alone. Do not reduce the infinite depths of your spirit to a cheap ware sold in the noisy bazaars of the modern world. The merchant wove a proverb into his tale that struck a deep chord within me. He said that if you wish to make the heavens laugh, simply announce your future plans aloud. This is an ancient whisper of humanity. Some say it comes from the desert tribes, others from the ancient scholars, and others from the wandering nomads. In truth, it is the collective realization of all mankind, born in every corner of the earth simultaneously. Because every culture witnessed the same unfailing law. He who shouts his intentions to the wind watches the wind carry them away. Allow me to extend this ancient wisdom. If you wish to bring sorrow to the heavens, boast of your benevolent deeds. If you wish to offend the heavens, drag the intimate struggles of your household into the village square. If you wish to insult the heavens, parade the weight of your gold before the eyes of others. If you wish to utterly betray the heavens, broadcast to the world exactly how you commune with the divine in your secret prayers. Memorize this descending staircase. It is 5 steps down into the dark, leading from idle chatter to the absolute betrayal of your own soul. The vast majority of wanderers in this era stumble down these very steps every single day, entirely unaware, simply because their minds are restless, because they crave the warmth of attention, and because they never learn the immense power of remaining silent. Now, let us forge this into the iron of daily practice. What must you do? Heed this rule. Before you open your lips to reveal a piece of yourself, ask your inner mind one simple question. Will this offering truly guide this person, or will it merely amuse them? If it is meant only to amuse, swallow the words. The vast majority of what we spill about our lives is nothing more than fleeting entertainment for the listener. It is idle noise and scattered leaves. When this realization dawns upon you, 80% of your desire to broadcast your life will wither away. Second, acquire a simple, unadorned journal made of paper, and whatever fire burns within your chest, pour it onto those silent pages. The grand designs, the bitter resentments, the creeping fears, the soaring hopes, the silent prayers, and the flashes of inner light. Everything you ache to whisper to a companion, surrender it to the pages. The blank page is the ultimate confidant. It will absorb your burdens without a trace of judgment. It will not twist your words. It will not harbor envy. It will not scatter your pain to the winds of gossip. And it will never betray your trust. Most importantly, you will experience the exact same release of pressure as if you had spoken to a crowd, but you will not have purchased that relief with the coin of anyone's reputation. If the burden is too great and silence is simply impossible, choose exactly one soul in this vast world to whom you may entirely open your gates. Just one. Not 2, not 3, but one single guardian of your truth. And let this keeper be either your life companion, your sacred guide, or a healer of the mind, whose solemn oath binds them to absolute secrecy. Your dearest and closest companions are the poorest vessels for this heavy task. This is not because their hearts are wicked, but because they are merely human. They have their own winding paths, their own hushed conversations by the fire, and their own fragile memories. They will forget their solemn promise of silence, not out of malice, but through the ordinary, frail nature of human forgetfulness. And now I arrive at the final truth, the very reason I gathered my breath to speak with you today. The young merchant expressed a magnificently profound thought. He stated that genuine wisdom is not found in the volume of words we project into the world, but in the vastness of the silence we are able to contain within ourselves. These are words woven from pure gold, and I press my seal upon them as an old traveler who has spent 90 years moving through crowds and sitting in absolute solitude. We have fallen into an era where a soul is weighed by how much of itself it scatters into the wind. The more they display, the more tales they spin, the wider they throw open their doors, the more the cheering masses declare them triumphant. This is an illusion. It is the absolute inversion of ancient grounding truth. In the old desert camps, among the high mountain dwellers, in the quiet farming valleys, and across every ancient land, the quiet one was the one held in reverence. The one who harbored a deep mystery was recognized as wise. The one who held nothing back was seen as hollow. This modern age has flipped the world upside down, and we are paying a terrible toll, buying our restless nights, our fractured homes, our fading fires, and our severed bonds with the currency of our own overexposed lives. Reclaim your mysteries. It is the most precious treasure you will ever amass. Mountains of gold can be carried away by thieves in the night, but a mystery remains utterly unassailable until you unlock the gates yourself. The old man has spoken what weighed upon his heart. Remember the simple truth my venerable master loved to repeat in the quiet of the morning. He would look at me and say that everything you wrap in silence will take root and grow, while everything you cast into the air will vanish like the morning mist. The choice is yours alone to make. Will you be a cultivator of deep roots or a merchant of evaporating mist? Choose your path with the gravity of a wise soul. You still possess the gift of time. If these words have brought a quiet stillness to your mind, I gently ask that you leave a mark of favor upon this scroll, so that the gentle winds may carry this wisdom to other restless wanderers who need it. And consider joining our silent circle of seekers, that we may walk this path together. May profound peace settle upon your dwelling, and may an impenetrable, sacred quiet watch over your deepest mysteries.